this is a relatively small practice. They work with physicians, and they've had 650 interactions using that bot since like July, August of last year. That's how many different conversations are taking place in a HIPAA compliant environment that is direct physician to pharmacy on any given day. That's huge.
And think too, that's 650 some odd phone calls that didn't have to happen,
Yes.
or maybe wouldn't have happened in the first place because somebody didn't want to pick up the phone. Right, and the conversation wouldn't have happened. And then anecdotally too, they'll say all the time when they're talking to providers that use this service, the referring providers will bring it up and be like, I love this. This is so great. So,
well, you know how I know that it works? Because this client has multiple times sent gifts to our offices, physical gifts, because they are enjoying working with us. And so they're sending us thank you gifts, which is fabulous. That's a testament to all your hard work building out these different programs for them. Hey there, welcome to the Dr. Marketing Tips Show. I am Jennifer.
And I'm Corey.
And today we're going to talk about kind of like something that we get asked all the time. And that is, how do I build my referral business? And how do I build relationships with those referring partners? And we're here to tell you, we think there's a way that you can use AI and automation to really deepen those referral relationships.
Yeah, I just had a conversation actually, I don't know, it was a day or two ago with someone, and they were trying to put together their physician referral plan. And right now the plan is, well, yes, we have someone who's part-time, and she goes out and drives around and tries to find referring practices or potential referring practices. And then when she walks in, she hands them our stuff, and she writes down where she went and what day she went there. And that's kind of the extent of the plan. And I think a lot of offices wind up doing that. A lot of clinics wind up doing that. And, you know, it's just not very efficient. And so there's ways you can leverage AI to really change the way that you are going about your referral process. So I think it makes sense to talk about how we can actually change the way that we're doing, you know, boots on the ground type activities, and then also from a digital side as well.
Yeah, totally. So let's just go through the scenario. So we will quite often get a client who's like, look, I'm in, let's say, Atlanta. We'll just use that. I'm in Atlanta. I'm a orthopedic surgeon, and I need to market to primary care physicians. I've got somebody who's going to go out and knock on doors for me, but I don't even know where to start in terms of pulling a list. So, you know, do you have any tools out there that you could use to help me pull that list?
Yeah, so there's tools you can use. There's a bunch of them, different AI tools where you can actually say, I want to search for all the primary care physicians in Atlanta and maybe a 20-mile radius outside of Atlanta if you want to. And then they'll actually scrape LinkedIn and directory listings, pull together a list for you and say, here's all the doctor names, here's the addresses, here's the phone numbers, and every now and then you'll even get the emails. And then so from there, you can clean up that list and then say, great, well, now I have a list of, let's call it 120 primary care doctors in the area. Some of those, of course, are going to be duplicates because let's say there's 5 doctors in one office. So you'll see listings like that. But with very minimal cleanup, you now have a list that you can start working off of rather than just kind of sending someone out to drive around.
Yeah. And the beauty of that list, and we've been doing this for at least, 18 months now. The beauty of that list is it's scraping data based on like Google listings, like your directory listings. And so it's giving you the address, it's giving you some review information. It's typically giving you a phone number, potentially a fax number on occasion. Sometimes it gives you an email address, but you could sort that list for your referral person based on that address. And you actually could use AI and probably a Zap or something to connect it to help map out that drive for them to go around town and to knock on those doors.
Yeah, there's actually there's route planning apps, so you can just take the list, clean it up so where you don't have 10 duplicates or whatever, and you're happy with it, and then upload that list into a route planner, and then it'll map out the most efficient route for someone to take.
That's exactly the case. And then you even can, I like to do it from a reporting standpoint, like when I'm reporting to the doctors, taking that list and the route that the coordinator went out and did, and then plotting it on a map so that my physicians can see where our targeted outreach was for that particular month. And so we'll tie that list back to kind of actual deliverables and then use that from a reporting standpoint. Another thing that we can do with that list is pretty easily drop some direct mail to that list because you have the physical addresses. So this could also become your holiday card list, your quarterly like outreach list. It could be, you could drop a newsletter in the mail, personalized thank you notes. You could do a lot just based off of letting AI pull that list for you and then creating automations for outreach.
Well, and then, in addition to everything that we just talked about there, those are kind of like, real world things that you're doing. You're sending someone out to go to these offices. You're sending a piece of direct mail. Another thing that you could send that's digital, you could send a fax blast to those if you do have the fax numbers. So sometimes, like you said, you do get the fax numbers. That's more rare, but you can use whatever numbers you do have to send out a fax blast. You can also send out what's called automated voicemails to this list. So there's programs out there where you can record just a voice memo on your phone and you say, hey, I'm Dr. So-and-so, starting my own practice, new to the area. This is what we offer. These are the changes. This is what differentiates us. Happy to, stop by or have you over for lunch, whatever you want to do. And then you upload a list. It sends it out to all those phone numbers. The practice administrator, front desk coordinator, whatever, comes in the next day, checks the voicemail. They have a new one from your practice. You called 128 practices, by spending 30 seconds doing a voice memo.
Yeah, and you've had some success with this with clients, haven't you?
Yeah, with a couple different clients. We've used that in several different specialties, several different regions of the U.S. And the most recent one I did, I think the list had, I want to say like 70 something contacts on it, and 66 of them were successfully delivered. And we heard anecdotally from the provider that following doing that, she got several emails and a couple of phone calls. So
yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great because it's you do it once and then you can automate that process and send it out.
Right.
Especially if you have a brand new practice and you're making an introduction, I think that's an easy way to do outreach.
Well, we've done that for events too. Remember, Jennifer Taggart did that for a group to help just get people to show up to an event. So our head of biz dev used this program to basically make calls on behalf of a group, and that was able to bolster the attendance of an in-person event that they were doing. So
yes, and bolstered it pretty significantly, my understanding.
Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah, and I think going back to kind of the fax number thing. So if you're using AI to help you pull the list, you can actually go deeper with the AI. So let's say you pull it first and it's pulling from the Google directories, and you only get like 70% of the information that you're looking for because not everyone has their fax number on their Google directory. Well, you can take that and scrub it through a different piece of software. Typically it's free software or pretty darn close to free. And then, just as an example, you could take that and then do a full-blown search of the internet backwards to get those fax numbers. You can also, it'll scrub against like LinkedIn data and things of that nature. So if you're looking to put particular contacts in there, you can go up against different databases and things like that. And really it's just the push of a couple of buttons and then waiting to see what it comes back with, and then a push of a couple more buttons until you refine your data.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a good segue, because it sounds like unintentionally we didn't plan this, but we went from boots on the ground to totally digital. So I think let's keep going down that path. So another thing that you can do that we have had success with is creating kind of like a dedicated either portal or chat feature for referring providers. Because again, the whole if you're a referring provider and you're looking at where should I refer, I've got some information about this new practice. Well, how do they make my life as the referring provider easier? One way that you can do that is have this dedicated chatbot or portal or whatever you want to call it, specific for physicians. So if I'm a referring provider, I now have a space where I can go and maybe I can download some resources that I need to give back to my patients, or to make it super easy if we go the portal route, or maybe it's even just a chat functionality on the website where, I can't text, or I don't want to text for whatever reason, but I can go to your website and then drop a line and HIPAA compliant and say, hey, I just wanted to check on Mrs. Smith, make sure that everything was okay, and what's kind of the next step. And then having that direct line of communication, knowing that it's HIPAA compliant, you can even take that onto your phone and you can turn it into, some messaging platforms, you do it on the website, but it also has an app you can use on your phone. So really what you're doing is you're just kind of removing friction and creating this sort of seamless opportunity for referring providers to reach you whatever way is convenient for them. And if they can do that, you make their life easier, they will refer more patients.
Well, and with the inbox/chat functionality, you can set it up. Like, I'm thinking in terms of like the consumer side. So the consumer side, you can say, all right, if these questions come in and it can't answer, send it to billing, or send this to a physician team, or this to, reception. You could turn around and do the same thing from a referral standpoint. It could be like, if it's a doctor, it goes to this person. If it's a coordinator, it could go to this person. If it's coming from this type of doctor, it goes here. And really could, for all intents and purposes, create a kind of customized chat bot two-way communication functionality that you could then market to those referring physicians as a way that you really stand out from the crowd.
Exactly. And making it easier for them.
That's exactly it. And, it's not just that they're typing into a bot that's got preloaded questions, which is a whole different, avenue. This one is let's ask it specific questions and route it based on what is they need at any given time.
Yeah.
You have a client that's successfully doing it from a referral standpoint, don't you?
Yeah. So they use it in a couple of different ways. So they actually have a full-on portal built out where they've added white labeled resources into this portal. So if I'm a referring provider and I need some information about a particular service or product, I can go in there, download a flyer from them, and then turn around and give that to patients. So, it's just a nice flyer, new information. I don't have to do any of the digging. I know it's vetted. It's right there. There happens to be the chat function there where at any point I can type in a question, and they have several of their team members that monitor this throughout the day, and I'll get a response. After business hours, I get notified that someone's going to check on this first thing in the morning, get right back to me. And then I have also had success with, using that as the routing feature as well, and even promoting it to say you can essentially schedule quote unquote office hours with one of the providers. So, and that's unique. That's rolling out now. So I don't have any data or anything on that. But what they're going to start doing is Monday from 2 to 6 p.m., they're going to have a specific provider in front of this chatbot. And basically we've set it up so there's a Calendly link. You go and you say, I want to schedule a half-hour consultation, and it's just provider to provider. Book it, shows up on your calendar, and then we can use the chatbot, or we can actually do a live kind of virtual meeting. And again, that hasn't started yet, but that's getting ready to roll out. And I think that's a really cool way to use this technology.
I think that's a great way to use it, and I'll be interested in that case study. I'm doing so we're filming this at the end of January, and I'm prepping for a talk for the operations conference for the MGMA in Vegas, their national conference. And I was actually pulling data from your client because part of the conversation is going to be on AI. And I was trying to provide some specific examples for chatbots. And so I pulled some of your client data, and just to show you, like, this is a relatively small practice. They work with physicians, and they've had 650 interactions using that bot since like July, August of last year. That's how many different conversations are taking place in a HIPAA compliant environment that is direct physician to pharmacy on any given day. That's huge.
And think too, that's 650 some odd phone calls that didn't have to happen,
Yes.
or maybe wouldn't have happened in the first place because somebody didn't want to pick up the phone. Right, and the conversation wouldn't have happened. And then anecdotally too, they'll say all the time when they're talking to providers that use this service, the referring providers will bring it up and be like, I love this. This is so great. So,
well, you know how I know that it works? Because this client has multiple times sent gifts to our offices, physical gifts, because they are enjoying working with us. And so they're sending us thank you gifts, which is fabulous. That's testament to all your hard work building out these different programs for them.
Yeah. I mean, and who doesn't enjoy a good box of nuts every now and then?
Right. And they got chocolate in with the nuts. So I didn't
Right.
think I could eat 40 pounds of nuts, but somehow I managed.
I'll find a way.
Yeah. So, okay. So the last one, let's go back full circle back to like the physical knocking on doors and see if there's like a hybrid approach. But something I've been doing more and more is I have a practice that has a pretty robust outreach plan for referring offices. And what they do is when they're going out, they kind of position it that, hey, we've got it set up where you can send your referrals online to make it super easy for you. So they have like a little business card with a QR code and the details and like a flyer. They have everything that goes with it. And they hand it out. And basically they have hand these out to the referring providers. And then the referring providers, when they have a patient to send, it's HIPAA compliant. They do it through an online form. They fill it out. They give the patient info because from a standpoint of practice to practice, if you're not a hospital or within that system, there's no interoperability. You know, our EHR doesn't talk to your EHR. And so they use the form to connect it and they do it in a HIPAA compliant environment. And I've got more than one client who has asked for this so that one, it gives their referral coordinator something to go out and to market. But two, like it's just a great way to track who is sending you referrals and to be able to thank them properly and really like expedite the whole process. And so we've got a client up in Louisville who has been using this for a couple of years. And she says it helps them so much because the referral partners prefer to do it digitally when they can. And it helps with, you know, the whole like transfer of information on the phone, making the patient do additional things. Plus they know who to thank at the holidays, which I think is a good way to go about it.
Yeah, I did this for an ophthalmologist here locally. And same thing. He loves it because at the end of the year, like it gets to November or whatever, he just goes in there, pulls the entries and sorts them and says, okay, so Dr. So-and-so sent me 30 referrals throughout the year. He's going on the top of the list. So it's easy to do. And I think, you know, same thing, kind of like what we were talking about a few minutes ago, it just removes a little bit of friction from the referring providers, because if we can make it easier on them, then everybody wins.
I think you're right. I think that you make it easier, everybody wins. It gives you something to market, because so many times when you're going out and knocking on doors or trying to build those relationships, you really don't know what differentiates your practice from the next one. Like, why send it? And then, I mean, I think the last thing is to keep in mind is, you know, somebody might be listening to this or watching this and saying like, well, not my doctors. They're not going to send a referral, you know, through the internet, or they're not going to text message with somebody on a chat bot. But the fact is that older doctors are retiring, younger doctors are coming through the system, and doctors are consumers and have preferences just like the rest of us. And if you look at all the data of how people want to communicate, they want to use these digital first technologies. And so it's either get with the program or get left behind.
Well, and also too, you know, the referral coordinators or the MAs, or, you know, there's different people that are making these referrals at different practices, the way that, you know, however your workflow is set up. But if you've got someone who's a little bit younger, who's acting as your referral coordinator, you know, she maybe doesn't want to pick up the phone every time. And if it's easier for her, one, you can give her some more time back in her day to do other things. But you improve the work culture. She's happier maybe because she just dreads picking up the phone. And so again, everybody wins.
Yeah. I think this is hopefully some good tidbits that our listeners can take back and implement and consider. And if you need any help, feel free to give us a call. With that, I'm Jennifer.
I'm Corey.
We'll see you next time on the Dr. Marketing Tips Show. Thanks a bunch.
Bye, guys.
If you want more like this, hit like and subscribe so you'll always be alerted to new episodes when they come out. And if you want information about us, visit us over at insightmg.com. That's insightmg.com. We'll see you on the next episode.